constantly being programmed, generation after generation. So it's really not easy to break the program. Um, some people, it's accidentally happening. They're calling it a glitch in their programming. And again, I'm keeping my mouth shut, but there's a lot of things I could help these people with. I can show them that they can see all this here, now, all the time. We always could. I'm showing it to you again now in the camera as I'm talking. The video's getting ready to end, so yeah, there's 47 minutes. Right? Something like that, 44 minutes. Um, so this is great. I mean, it's really good. I like listening to these people. That like I said, there's certain things that once I show it to them, I'm just going to show it to this dude that's running this podcast. I'm going to make a series to him, and I'll just do it that way. It'll be much easier. And then he's got contact with these thousands of people with all near-death experience, and that'll save me from being labeled a near-death experience survivor or whatever the hell they're calling everybody, because they also are put on the conspiracy list, right? And then they'll be talking, oh, there's the medical industry doesn't know what to make of it. Of course they don't. They're all fucking zombies. They're all zombies. 7.8 billion. There's no exceptions. The science was a lie. The religions were a lie. Everything's been a lie. So
years I stayed home, and it was the only place where I felt like I could kind of manage the energy around me. But I was scared. To go out was scary, especially when I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand, I didn't even know what an empath was. And so to try to understand the sensitivities was just impossible. And even when I would stay home, I remember a lot of nights where I would sleep with the lights on. I was really frightened because I could sense so much hustle and bustle around me, even when I was at home alone. And we had a really bad snowstorm. And it was one of these snowstorms where everybody stays home. You can't get your car out of the driveway, nothing. Everybody stays home. So outside was very quiet too. And I had started to get curious, really weirded out by a couple things that were happening. I loved watches, and I had a really cool watch collection. I couldn't wear my watches anymore because every time I would wear one, it would break, it would stop working. And then I'd try the next watch, that would stop working. And the automatic doors, like at Target, they weren't opening for me. It was like they didn't see me. Wow. And so we have this huge snowstorm, and it's downtime for me to start thinking about all of this stuff. And so I started Googling is what happened. And I Googled something like, can you wear watches after you die? Something like that. And that's when I started pulling up all of this research about NDEs and the after effects of NDEs. And when I would read the list of after effects, I was just checking off everything as I was going down the list. And that was a huge turning point for me to be able to say, this is what happened to me. I had a near-death experience. It's an NDE. There are PhDs that are researching this. I'm not the only one that this has happened to. And the reason I can't go out is because I have all these increased sensitivities. So understanding it was a big turning point for me. And I still couldn't go out, though. I still couldn't find a lot of information about how to manage the sensitivities. You know, this is before there were amazing podcasts and YouTube channels interviewing people that this has happened to. So I was really kind of flailing around. But I knew I had to get my life back again. I was still very young. I was only 36 at this point. And so I really went into research mode. Right. Trying to figure out what other people were doing, trying to figure out what researchers were saying to do. And another huge turning point for me was, you know, my friends were worried about me. They weren't hearing from me anymore. They weren't seeing me anymore. And I've always loved music, always. And one of my favorite musicians was coming to town. And my friend said, "Come on, let's go." They were trying to coax me out of the house.
Yeah.
And I said, "You guys are crazy. I can't even go to the grocery store without really feeling like I was losing my mind and being scared to death. But you want me to go sit in an arena with 20,000 people? That's never going to work." But they were convincing, and they said, we just want you to show up. And if you leave 30 seconds later, we'll be proud of you for trying. And so I reluctantly agreed to it. One of the best decisions I've ever made because it changed my journey. What happened was I play piano and I play guitar. So I listen to music a little bit different because of that. But as soon as he started playing the guitar and singing, it was just me and him. And I sat through that entire concert, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it was. And when it was over, I remember thinking to myself, how did I do that? I don't feel drained. I don't know what anybody around me is going through. And when I went home after that, I really kind of meditated on that a lot. And what I came to
Yeah, she gonna tell you what she came to realize, and hopefully I'll be able to reach these people and be able to help them big time, and they'll help me too, because once they realize that they can do this whenever they want, they can use the true creator's energy to communicate with each other. So she's doing it, but she's not realizing why she's doing it. She's looking at it as an uncontrollable thing that she doesn't have control over. I think so, anyways. I just started. This is the probably the middle, closer to the end of this video, and these are people that have had near-death experiences. I'm pretty sure her near-death experience was about 15 years ago. So it's taken them that long. A lot of them have been that long, 15, 20 years and more. These people, it's taken them years when you listen to their story to even figure out as much as they've figured out so far. But I just thought it was pretty interesting that everything that first lady was describing, everything that every person so far has described, is exactly what I've been describing and trying to show all of you, that we can all see for ourselves right now in this bio realm, okay? So we don't have to die in order to use the system, see the system. We've been tricked. We've been tricked and duped into thinking that's what's going on, is that we have to there was a lot of lies. When you think about it, everything was a lie. So don't fear that. Don't worry about it, because that's going to be the thing. Everybody hears something like that, and automatically they're going to turn off of it. They're going to say, no, this is impossible. There's no way everything could have been. Yeah, everything was a fucking lie. So it's not a big deal, though. I'm telling you, the reality to it all and the truth of it all is much, much better. We're getting fucked. Everybody's getting fucked here, and we're getting fucked by a measly 10,000 people, and there's 7.8 billion of us right now, and we're all fucking each other by color, fucking each other by sexual orientation, fucking each other by monetary status, fucking each other in every fucking way. It's really fucked up. And I know I'm a trash mouth. I know. I'm gonna have to just deal with it.
Realized was when I came back from my NDE, I was tuned in to everything. And what I needed to learn how to do was to tune out. And even to this day, I'm always tuned in. So it became a skill to tune out. And going to that concert and really enjoying and listening to him play is how I learned to tune out. And it's also helped me to channel better. When I'm doing healings, I'm channeling the person's higher self, which really takes concentration, and you really have to go blank in order to do that. And I use the same process to channel as I do to tune out in my everyday life. It's kind of a weird thing when you think about it, but it's really focus. And I just started gathering up tools like that in all of these random ways. And then I eventually connected with Dr. Janice Miner Holden, who, I mean, she's one of the leading researchers on this. She and I live just a couple hours away from each other, and she was very gracious and really helped me a lot. During some of my Googling, I found a dissertation that someone had done about how relationships change after someone has an NDE. It's something like 70 to 80% of people get a divorce. It's really high. And reading her research really helped me to understand and formulate what had gone on. So I was hurting.
I'm going to stop it there. I know I promised I wasn't going to keep stopping the videos and doing this, but I just wanted to mention, since no one's around. Oh no, they are around now. They just pulled in or no? What you're saying about relationships, it's so fucking hard. It's so hard because when you're seeing it all, that's one thing. Then you gain excitement because you are seeing something that really you should have been seeing all along, but you're excited because now you can see it. And then you want to share it with everyone, and you want everybody to see it because it frees everyone. It frees everyone from the slavery that we're under. And everyone doesn't want to face that. They don't think that it's slavery. They've been programmed. 7.8 billion strong, you know. So all relationships with spouses, with children, with everybody, because they're all zombified and they're not going to wake up. I didn't have a near-death experience, but now after I've been listening to 6 or 7 of these people, every other near-death experience I've ever heard anybody describe didn't sound like any of these people. These people are more right up the alley with what I'm seeing all around me in my everyday life, and I can relate to what they're all saying. Granted, they run off a little bit, but it seems like every topic that they bring up gives an exact description. And here's another example of it, because she's talking about 70 to 80% of anybody who has a near-death experience that sees everything. I'm wondering, are they not even having a near-death experience? Are they just seeing everything that I'm able to show you? It's not hidden. It's not hidden. So therefore, to what they're describing in a near-death experience, I can just sit back and do that all the time now. It's taken me some years to learn how to do that. I explained in other videos, there's a lot of reasons why. So I've had times where I was so scared I didn't go back in for a year. There were times when I only used it to communicate with others, and then that was getting frustrating to me. So I was getting pissed off because even when I could prove to people that it was working, that we could communicate with each other using this true creator's energy, because we're all one in that energy. It's so simple, it's so easy. And then because time is all one, it doesn't matter. So when you want to send messages and receive messages, in this realm right here, like if I was going to sit back for a couple seconds, number one, the time. A couple seconds is nothing, because you can go in there for a couple seconds. Here, you're in a couple seconds, but when you go in there, you can spend hours in that couple seconds. Just in that couple seconds, you can do 2, 3, 4 hours. I mean, I'm still getting used to it. So, I mean, I've stretched it. That's why when these people talk about that, I can understand what they're talking about. It sounds to anyone else, it sounds crazy. There's another guy that they're going to be playing. I'm going to play his video too, and he talks about quantum physics, and I hate quantum physics because it brings in too much math. If it didn't have math in it, in other words, zeros, get rid of the zeros and infinity, and then I'd be fine with it. I'd be fine with the quantum physics. Matter of fact, one of the first series I made was to Quantum of Conscience. His name was Matt something, at Quantum of Conscience. I don't know, I think he might be CIA for all I know. He could be, one of the psyops, because it seemed like everybody is. Seems like everybody's a fucking psyop. But these people are real people, and I finally found them. So I'm gonna try to reach out to them. We'll see what happens.
For a couple of years afterwards. And I would say now, I'm 15 years out from it now. I feel almost like I'm in the sweet spot of it now, where I've learned how to manage a lot of the after effects. I've gone and I've healed so many of my traumas that were unhealed that I didn't even know were there. And now I'm in flow, which I am loving. Flow state is as close to being in the light as you can get. That peace. It just feels so good.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. As someone who gets into the flow state every once in a while, when you're in the creative space, and you're just kind of in there, it's wonderful. It really is wonderful.
It's liberating. It's really liberating.
Very much so. I mean, it does sound like you must have thought you were going out of your mind before you Googled that. I mean, you must have just, am I losing my mind?
I thought I was going crazy. I really thought I was going crazy. And I really didn't want to tell anyone because I thought, what if they think I'm going crazy? And that could spiral. Yeah, that could spiral out of control really quickly. At the same time, I knew crazy things were happening, but I didn't feel crazy.
You were just trying.
Yes, and that's exactly also what I've been saying all along. The level of confidence, as I keep seeing more and more of the system is shown to me, it's not that it's actually being shown to me, it's just that my programming keeps breaking down and allowing me to look and see things for what they are. That's what's more or less happening. So I guess the way I word things a lot of time, or maybe I can't get the words to describe things sometimes, It's not easy because I'm, again, trying not to ever use human programs and human terminologies to describe things that I want to say new to everybody, but really it's not new. It's just, it's always been there. It's always been there. We've just been deceived. We've been deceived and distracted from it. And these people here, this is what I've been saying. I said, there's got to be a couple thousand people out there who are able to see the same things I'm seeing. They just don't have no way to get through to each other and all this. Unfortunately, though, these people have all had near-death experiences. I wonder if they're not really near-death experiences. I wonder if they just, maybe their near-death experience caused them something that triggered the same thing that was triggered in me 20 years ago, because that's about the time it was for me, right? When I wrote the book, The Mirror Neuron Manipulator. It's the same thing that these people are describing. All of a sudden, you're sitting in front of the freaking computer, I'm typing faster than I can even keep up with. I'm even including my swears and my trash mouth in my words of writing this book. I'm not a writer. I'm not even a fucking thinker. I'm no deep thought person. At least not up to that point I wasn't. So I didn't know where this was all coming from. And then I went through all kinds of shit that I won't even get into. They, going down the roads, researching evolution, researching biblical arenas that I've already researched throughout my life, accidentally. And then now, at this time in my life, I was doing it intentionally. So I was taking things from remembering when I was dating a girl who was Islamic and couldn't have sex with her because it was against her religion. She had to be married first, and if she was going to marry me, I'd have to also become an Islamic. Otherwise, she couldn't marry me according to her family and all this kind of shit, right? So when I went back and looked at the stories of Muhammad and comparing them to the stories of Jesus and comparing them to the stories of Buddha and everything, finding the similarities in them, looking at all the pagan religions, I mean, it was a lot of research for somebody who, why was I so fucking interested in all this stuff all of a sudden in my life, right? I mean, I was going along just as good. I could have been an alcoholic, a drug addict. I could have not been paying attention to anything. That was, according to the human, slave masters, that's what I was supposed to be. That was all I was supposed to do. Or stay distracted with work, work 80 hours a week, and distract yourself with whatever, look chasing cars and money and you know, fancy things, that material shit that meant nothing to me. So I somehow bypassed a lot of parts of the system. I got, you know, I railroaded myself on some of them, but it's still, that's a long time, 20 years so far. I feel like I got a good portion of it figured out, but I still feel like if I can get 3,000 people to all realize, all these people that are here, realize that they can tap into that system anytime they want. They don't have to go to death in order to do it. It's all around us. We can all see it. We were lied to. And then at least I have somebody to relate to, because they're saying the same shit that I've been saying.
Trying to process it, essentially. It wasn't like you were like, you were literally losing your mind. It was just that there's so many things happening. You just like, I can't process this. So it wasn't coming from inside. It was coming from outside, and you were trying to deal with what was happening coming in, essentially, right?
Right, because I felt completely bombarded by all of these really awarenesses that I had. And it was, I mean, it was just too much. It was too much. And complete and total.
Well, it sounds like you were frying the circuits. Like literally the nervous system could not deal with what was being coming. Your CPU couldn't process this, essentially. Your mind not only wasn't equipped for it.
That's right, and that's what I was telling you guys just a couple months ago when I was doing my last videos about what I found in the timelines. Now, if you listen to these people's descriptions, one of them describes triangular shapes and lights when she's moving up. I think it was this girl. And then line, yeah, it was. And then line to line, it was in the first part of the video that I did, and then she said she sees lines leading into each one. Those are the timelines. So when I found the timelines in the moon, I kept mentioning it's a lot of information for one person. You will fry your neurological system, of course. So that's why I said go look at other shit while we're thinking about what's going on with the moon. And then as you go and look at other things, and the trees and the bushes and the animals, and then you're looking at everything else and figuring this out and putting it all together. Okay, it's all feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, beast. Okay, I can see the builders everywhere now. Okay, I can see it all. Yep, I can see it. And then you put it all together. You'll also, what should stand out is I can't even get people to see the human destruction that happens right in front of their eyes. In other words, the mineral streets. And I can't talk about the mineral streets anymore either. I got to be very careful, because even if I use other terminology that they don't even use, they still fucking strike in my videos for it as misinformation or disinformation. I mean, come on, man, they're all around us. We can't see them. And then every one of these people, whether Richard Vobes or Clayton Morris or and Megyn Kelly and Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan and all these people that are out there, none of them ever. The other day, Megyn Kelly was playing some videos of her France vacation, and up in the sky behind her are crisscrosses of fucking paths of mineral streets going every different direction. And she's talking about her vacation, and she doesn't notice this. I mean, it was eating up a good 1.5 minutes of her 3-minute video log of her trip, of her vacation, and she doesn't notice behind her husband and her kid are all these fucking trails going everywhere. That's amazing to me. They're fucking zombie slaves. So are they just as, I mean, for her to, or is she in on it and she's just throwing it in our face like they do when they put Obama on the stage, or Bush, or anybody else, or even Reagan, because they really started the Mineral Street Project under Reagan. They did it as a outer space fucking, what was it, space protection or whatever. In other words, they were stopping from EMPs and all that kind of shit, supposedly. But they made it sound very space alien-y. And they also robbed the fucking human population, the Americans anyway. Actually, the whole entire human population, because it's all connected. For every fucking country that we took over, and every country that takes over us and everything, it's all the same. Anyways, this guy, we're definitely gonna have to make a series to him. Having a good time listening to him, and they just, yeah, they're with it on so many.
It just couldn't physically process this, and it just was too much.
Yeah, I don't think the body is equipped or able to feel everything. It's and definitely no, and definitely I mean definitely the impact on my nervous system, especially as time went on.
No, but it's really interesting because, again, from my perspective, from talking to so many near death experiencers, a lot of the things that you said are very in tune with what I've heard before. Yours is interesting because your after effects were heightened to a very high level. I've heard of other and I've heard of other people who've like always had paranormal issues or psychic abilities, or things were dormant, and they're like, yeah, I saw Grandpa at the edge of my bed when I was 5. You had none of this, and you had no training whatsoever. Your family wasn't into this stuff, so you truly were, out at sea without a paddle. Like you were just floating out there, and then all.
Right, because she was seeing the energies as they are. In other words, the builders. What I'm telling you are the triangular builders. She was seeing them also in larger forms. Remember, she was in the last video. She was describing it as bouncing energy. Like the energy was moving all around. It was very excited energy. When she was lifting up, she was coming back, and then when she looked down, she saw it that way. Now, the last lady that described it even better, because she described all those triangular energies as being inside of a disco ball type thing. Like if you reverse, she worded it as reversing a disco ball so that you're looking out, and then think of every different or every particle inside that ball is all those same reflective mirrored shapes. That's what she kind of described it as. And you're being in the ball, and you're able to look around and see everything, and that's more along the lines of the reality that I'm trying to show you, that you can all go see for yourself, because we can see the builders all around us, in the clouds, in the trees, and so we can see everywhere. So what this girl was describing of seeing them, she was seeing them as she was pushing away from them. So what I'm going to let her know is that not only that, because you can see it any way you want to see it. She did not see people, but neither did the last lady. He's got to remember that last lady that he was talking to, she was very specific about wording it that way. That's what turned me on about her, was that she worded and said, no, I didn't actually physically see, because there are no eyes, no faces, no bodies. It's an energy. It's an energy entity, but I knew it as my father, she said. And I knew the energy as my father just because it's a different set of eyes. You're not looking with these human eyes anymore. You're looking with a different set of eyes, but you know that it's the energy of your father. And that's yes, 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 yes. Because even when I'm going to use the system to move around in, I was telling you guys before, anybody that listens to me, that we can all communicate with each other. So because nobody knows that we're communicating with each other, the bio shell that's here, the soul that's inside the bio shell, the energy that is in this bio shell is the energy that's connected with you. That's the way it works, anyone who's listening. So therefore, when you go into the true creator's energy, there's a lot of voices going on, but they're usually talking to a God that's not there. They're not talking to the true creator. So when this girl or another one that's coming up talks about that, it's another thing. I said I wasn't going to interrupt these videos, and I keep interrupting them. But anyways, when she talked about that, it doesn't exactly, work that way, but it's very similar to that, because you can shut things off and turn things on. You can move around if you're unhappy with too much cluttering going on, and you start to get high anxiety, like this girl's describing. She was getting high anxiety because she doesn't realize that she has complete control of it yet. She doesn't understand she has complete control of going in and leaving. She had watches that were breaking on her because something happened with her electromagnetics, or something that happened electrically to her that maybe during her near-death experience, but I think it's something else, because I don't remember having any near-death experience, and I'm able to see it all, not only in that one moment, or then other moments where it feels like someone else is controlling it. No, not at all. And also the true creator does not care about us at all. I'm still looking for evidence because I'm hopeful, and it just seems like it makes sense that the false creator slash creator created the biosystem, so he should at least care about our bio shells, but I don't see any evidence of that either. So the true creator, responsible for our energy, our souls, and our spirits, all the same thing, and the false creator being responsible for our bio shells. So someone else mentioned too that they wanted to put in a third or a fourth into their category, and I thought that was very interesting because it does feel that way. I'm trying to remember their little circle pyramid thing that they were doing. Maybe it'll come up, and if it does, I'll move the camera onto that video because I just started playing these guys' videos, and I'm sure I seen it on one of his videos. Oh, it was the guy that's doing the quantum physics thing, but I didn't really like him that much because I just
All of this stuff
don't believe in
happened, and you
quantum
just
physics.
again, the word process is the thing. Psychologically and physically process.
I like quantum physics, but I just don't like the math that they use. They use false math, and then they also again act like it's something that using the system you have to be special to do it, and you don't. It's everybody. It's all of us. We're all able to use it. We've just been denied it. We've been lied to about everything.
Process what was happening to you. It's a pretty interesting thing. So okay, so we've gone through the dark night of the soul, if you will. You've kind of gone through, the battle. You've come out on the other side now. What are you doing with these abilities now? What is the work you're doing to help the world at this point?
I do energy work. I'm a full-time healer, and I part of what I see is I see everyone's potential, which is really, the true self, your original blueprint before life and trauma and conditioning and all that happened. And I take you from here to there, and it's all with energy work and, talking about spiritual ideas and principles and working through traumas, healing traumas, to connect this gap so everybody can feel flow state really all the time and feel almost like they're in a meditative state all the time and to feel that peace. And I am grateful that the sensitivity is so pronounced because I don't think I could do this work without it. And I'm also very grateful that I've learned that when I'm off the clock or when I'm busy doing something with my daughter or trying to do, really human things, that I can tune it out now.
Yeah, see? She does not.
But
No, I was gonna say it just reminds me of, not to make this juvenile, but it reminds me of a superhero who all of a sudden has these new abilities that they have to deal with and how to control them. Because if not, it could destroy them. It really could literally destroy them. And again, I'm not trying to compare you to a Marvel superhero by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But that kind of analogy, it kind of makes sense because I've seen enough movies in my day that there are these when they have abilities they just can't deal with. If they don't learn how to hone them, it could be very detrimental to the person who has them. Correct?
It take you down. It could take.
It's funny because he reminds me of Matt from Quantum of Conscience because the way he always refers to movies, television shows, and sometimes books when he's talking about things, and a lot of comparisons to the computer world and the digital world. In other words, video games or whatever. Everything reminds him of a hologram, that kind of thing. So that worries me as we're going forward with this guy, and if I ever get to meet him or talk to him, then I'll mention
Quickly down, very quickly. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have a curious personality, and so I had the motivation to Google, and otherwise, if I had just sat there, who knows what would have happened to me. But yeah, and it is a different lifestyle too. I wouldn't say.
So even people that are real people can still get taken down these paths. Now, that's an example of using the internet and the digital world to do something positive for each other, but it's really unnecessary. All right, so she used the internet and Google to track down other people that have had near-death experiences. But if those people that are in charge of the near-death experiences are all just like the same straw men that are set up in every other category of life, whatever it might be, because they have control of all sides. There's the good guys and the bad guys, the same guys. So, and then they multiply it and multiply that by every which direction. So, divided, I should say, I'm sorry, divided, and away we go. So,
Say it's a normal way of living. It is a more solitary lifestyle. I need a great deal of quiet in my world.
I'd have to listen to her a couple more times to see how I feel about that, because, I wonder, are they falling into... It's a good thing to use Google in order to use it as a tool, I guess is the point I was making. So at least she just used it as a tool. She's not stuck on it and trying to get all of her information, and her reality is not based on internet. Maybe doesn't have enough exposure to the outdoors in order to notice the mineral streets or things like that. Maybe she's been sucked down those roads, because she said she was locked herself up for a couple of years, and then going out doesn't necessarily mean going out. Going out could mean, like she described movies, shopping, things of concert, things like that. So if she's going out of the house to go back in another house, and you're not getting any outdoor experience, then, because that's always a wonder to me, how the hell does everybody not see the mineral streets going on? That's one sign to me that you're a zombie slave if you don't realize what's going on. So any questions that people might have, that pretend to have questions about the mineral streets, always get me pissed off whenever I'm doing videos and stuff. I start getting mad, almost like if somebody brings up anything to do with outer space and outer space nonsense, or any other psyop. I get just as pissed off about that psyop as any other one, because I know it's a fucking psyop, and it's aggravating that so many people believe in the nonsense. So it gets very frustrating. And you can show it to people all day long, and they just refuse to look. If you suck them into looking, you get someone to look. That's the only time. I definitely don't get any repeat customers. I mean, anybody that I get, it's a repeat customer. In other words, somebody that I show the system to, and I make them see it. In other words, I get evidence back that they've seen it. That's how I make them see it. So, because I want evidence that everyone can see it, because I know they can. I know everyone can see it. We're just refusing to look. That's how I know we're refusing to look, because we're refusing to look at the mineral streets alone, just for this human thing going on, right? So if we can't get everybody to even notice that, then how the fuck am I going to get them to notice the true creator's work? How am I going to get them to have any appreciation that it's feline? You want me to look at 3 places at the same time in one day? In other words, you want me to look at them bushes and the clouds and the moon? Oh my God, they're not going to look at any of them. They're not going to look at anything. Because as soon as they know what they're supposed to be looking for and looking at, then they'll distract themselves. Oh yeah, I've seen the elephant in the fucking cloud. No, you didn't see the elephant in the clouds, you fucking liar. You might have seen a shadow image of with an outline that might have had the characteristics of something like that, but that's about it, Because otherwise it's feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast. Bastards.
To stay sane, and I've had to adjust my life too, and I fought that for a while, but I'm good with it now. But it's a whole new way of doing things that needed a massive amount of adjusting.
What is the biggest takeaway you had from this near-death experience?
There are 2. I would say the biggest takeaway is the amount of love that is there for us. We are so loved. We are seen. You know, I realized I wasn't just seen during my NDE. I've been seen my whole life, and I was loved my whole life too. And so,
Okay, so right there, I'm going to stop it there because a lot of people, the 5 or 6 I've listened to so far, they do also describe that, and that's another place where they're wrong. They don't realize that they're wrong about it. Okay, so the energy is from our bio shells, our bio cells, with the soul and spirit. Because see, the soul and the spirit doesn't have any emotion. That's how I know that. So you can, once you start going looking at the system, you're going to see that again. I said it in the last video. The true creator does not care anything about the biosystem at all. I don't see any evidence that the false creator / creator gives a shit about the biosystem that he built himself. So a lot of people get confused about that. They're thinking that the love that they're feeling when they're in the true creator's energy is coming from the true creator. It's not. I don't see that yet. I don't see it. I've been told that, and that's what I've heard, but that's not what I'm experiencing when I'm in there. That love, just like hate, just like fear, just like all the other emotions and everything else, all come from us when we're in the bio form. So it's our energies in a bio form that are giving out this negative or positive energies. Just like when she was lifting up from the clouds and she looked down and she said she saw the energies popping and everything, and the energies were going crazy and everything, thinking that those were our energies. Yes, they were. She wasn't seeing the rest of the energies that were all around her yet. She didn't realize that. That would have been the last girl who described it as she was inside of a disco ball in reverse. You know, that the mirrors were reversed to the inside, and all inside was filled with these triangular particles filling up the whole inside. That's the way she described it, but on a large scale, of course. And therefore, I know that she also went the rest of the way. She was already the rest of the way there because she's seeing my model. She's describing my fucking model that I got sitting over there, right? So this, and it's not my model. It's the model. It's the model. It's not mine. I can't take credit for it. And it's definitely not finished. So somebody else that comes in to all this wants to be the scientist of the year or some shit. Fine, do it. Take it. Fucking do what you can with it. I'm sure there's still more left to figure out on it all. But anyways, it's those energies. It's the human energies that she's feeling the love from. Because otherwise, when you get to the other side, there are no emotions there. So all those other energies, they'll come in and it feels good. I gotta say that. I mean, I can feel in my bio shell, I can feel this goodness when I come back. I feel senses of relief in a conscious state, right? And as I keep mentioning, I could look, I could sit here, right? Sometimes I sit down, sometimes. When I first started, it was when I laid down. I would lay down, and then all of a sudden, boom, and then I come back, I'm feeling like, I just lived out 12, 13 hours. I'm expecting my clock to be 12, 13 hours later, right? And it's like 4 minutes later or some shit like that, right? And I laid there for a couple of minutes before I even sat up and thought about that. The first couple times that happened, that I was using the system that way, that's what would happen. And then one of the times that I was telling you guys that it got very scary because the people that didn't know how to use the system were in there and they were fucking with me. And I didn't know that I had control of it, just like this girl didn't know that she had control of it. She thinks she has control of it now, but she's still not. She's still missing some pieces. And then when she gets the rest of the pieces, then she'll have complete control of it all. Because right now she's still thinking that energy and that love that she felt was coming from the energy from God, the energy from the true creator. That's not the energy that we're going to feel that from. That's going to be from us. That's the nice thing about becoming human, is to be able to feel those emotions. When you go to the other side, I would just describe the other side as the best I could get over there, Because again, I felt fear when they wanted me to feel fear. So once I could control it, and I realized, oh, and it was fear, visual fear. That's another thing. So it's not visual that you see with your eyes. It's a visual of your energy is using your soul is using its own eye to see things, and then your soul will see those energies, and they have a choice. They don't have to present themselves as some scary looking thing. And how the hell do they know exactly what would scare me? Because I'm not afraid of a lot of the things that they were showing me, but then all of a sudden I see this one and I'll be like, holy shit, I mean, I'm a grown man. I should not be afraid of monster looking things and shit like that, right? But this one, for some reason, freaked the shit out of me, and then I didn't go back in for quite a while after that. I think like 6 months or something. And it was funny too, because back then Rick from A Tripping Sponge was wanting me to use the system. So again, it's all a learning experience. So I realized, okay, I did want to communicate with Rick that way and everything, but I didn't want to go into travel or move around in the system because I was afraid of what I'd see. So I just used it only for communication only. And that was also interesting and cool to learn about how to do, you know? So anyways, I think this video is going to be ending very soon. So, alright, I'll be back. I'm going to have fun doing these. These people are really interesting to do. Alright, I'll be back.